Hello there, everyone. So this is a little bit, I guess what you would call like off-brand, I guess, for me. I'm currently trying to figure out what my next video should be, and I really want to try to get it out by the end of the month, but depending on how much research it is, I might not be able to do that, and I am a little worried about that because, for anyone who's in America right now, everything fucking sucks. Now, I understand that the entire world economy has been impacted by the actions of a particular set of buffoons who are running the country right now. And I just want to make very clear that if you support Donald Trump or Elon Musk or any of those people, you can go fuck yourself, right? And the reason why you can go fuck yourself is because you are either, one, a moron who does not understand how economics works, does not understand their location relative to any economic reality. Like, I'm not just saying like, oh, I'm a leftoid, blah, blah, blah. Like, there are people who, I may disagree with on like a wider perspective of economics, who understandably are very pissed about what's going on economically right now. And I feel like if you don't understand that, you are a fucking tool. And if that hurts your feelings, then cry harder, baby, because you are a tool and you are being used. And if you are not a tool, for the very small minority of people who are benefiting from this, such as the AI scumbags who may be watching this channel because they have a interest in Deleuze, not Guattari. They don't like Guattari. They think he's an R word, because Justin Murphy pulled the mask off of how the Dark Enlightenment really feels about the guy who actually came up with all of the ideas that you're fucking stealing. It's funny, back in the 1980s when Guattari wrote some of the stuff that appears in schizoanalytic cartographies, he literally bitches about the same shit with the postmodernists that, they basically were, influenced by his ideas and, other ideas that were, coming from his, like, group, I guess. And they just took it and they basically farted it into oblivion. And that's what you're doing right now because you're a scumbag. Like, real talk, if you are benefiting from this is all about, this is all about, all of the capital flowing up to the top. You are the problem. You are the villain. You are the baddie, okay? Just to make that clear. And I don't give a fucking flying shit about how much you love to read theory or whatever. If you're supporting this AI garbage, shit fuck, grok bullshit, you can go fuck yourself, okay? So, now with that out of the way, and I just want to make clear, the reason why I'm saying this right now is because I can't even find a fucking job in fast food right now. I have never struggled this hard to find a job in my fucking life, right? I mean, mind you, like, I understand that tech is competitive. It's always been competitive, but I was able to still find a job in 2022, and I was still able to work there for over 2 years, even though that was a total scumbag company who is literally lying and cheating and scamming the logistics industry and stealing real labor value from the economy so that they can be assholes like 99% of other tech people, right? You're all assholes. I hope you know that. You're all predatory assholes. Pretty much any useful technology at this point, like actual software, I don't mean like hosting services or anything like that. Any useful software is 99% of it is open source, or it is highly specialized in some sort of like creative field. But even then, open source alternatives are really catching up in some perspectives in that. And as a result, it's like you just cannot look at specialized software that is designed for specific business cases and cannot just see how these are parasitic assholes. Like, people think that what is going on right now is new, right? No, this fucking mentality, I'm sure it goes back even further, but it really blew up in the web era, like the web 1.0 era, www, World Wide Web bubble or whatever. I don't fucking remember what they call it. But basically back in the 90s, when the internet came around, everyone lost their shit because it was suddenly a new opportunity to create new businesses. And in fact, pretty much the entire economy had this like weird belief that they could create surplus value from practically anything. I mean, this is the same time when Enron is manufacturing value out of nowhere from bullshit like trading weather and crap like that. So, you know, whenever somebody financial or fintech tells you that it's innovative, that's bullshit. That's horse shit. They are innovating new ways to scam you. Now, let's think about, for example, the Cybertruck. There is nothing innovative or, you know, really particularly technically impressive about the Cybertruck other than the fact that it fucking exists and I guess it can run. There's been so many fucking recalls on this garbage vehicle. I mean, it's so hideous. It's so ugly. I think the funniest thing about it is that now that I live near somebody who actually owns a Cybertruck, I've heard the beeping noise. You know how most cars have like a honking horn that does the beep? It literally has a fake MP3 that plays that sound of another car. It's so dumb. It makes you look like such a dumb fuck that it literally just says I'm an asshole and I'm in charge because I own the 1%. Which, you know, I'm just saying, like, fuck you. Like, just go fuck yourself, right? And these cars were not made for any technological purpose. They were not made to innovate anything other than how to scam people, right? How to extract more value. How can we convince people to give us their money? This is what Elon Musk actually innovated on. This is what people actually think he's a super fucking genius for. He's the best scam artist in the world, and he got his genocidal daddy to go and fucking help him fund it. Fuck you all. I hate all of you. Okay, now, with that rant out of the way, I wanted to discuss another thing that pisses me off, right? And this is more related to trans drama. So if you're somebody who gets triggered by the mention of words like transmasculine or, you know, non-binary, I would recommend first you get a therapist for those problems. But second, I would also recommend you grow the fuck up, right? Because you are a bitch-ass baby. We gotta listen to your 27 fucking alpha sigma genders because you can't get laid. But when we go and do our thing and actually have sex, you're pissed about that. You're pissed about that. And I don't give a fuck, alright? You can go and suck my dick. You'll have to find it first, but you can go suck it. Anyways, what really pisses me off, speaking of not having a penis, is just how people discuss female-to-male transgender people, also known as FTMs, right? Transmasculinity, etc. I'm really sick and tired of insanely misogynistic trans women, you know, coming in and saying the most obscenely awful things about FTMs, all right? Like, just today, I had to ban somebody from the Ardala's Discord server because they tried to get me on board with me hating Paul Preciado. So if you don't know who Paul Preciado is, he is a FTM, like, psychoanalyst, schizoanalyst writer who is really influenced by, like, Félix Guattari and a bunch of other writers from that period. He's pretty smart, right? I don't necessarily agree with everything that he does. Like, my main criticism of him is that, and this is true for a lot of FTMs who engage with this work, he's a bit exotic. Like, he's very hypersexual, and it represents a lifestyle that is not either accessible to many of us or even really, like, accurate to how we live our lives. And to stress, like, you need a voice like Paul Preciado because he is part of the spectrum of expression of sexuality and being trans and all this. But the problem is that if you just read Paul Preciado, you kind of just have, like, a one-dimensional view of what it's like to be a trans man, And that's part of the reason why I want to get more involved with, you know, writing myself eventually and discussing gender issues and stuff, because I want to present myself as kind of a foil to Preciado, somebody who has a much less active sex life and somebody who, you know, is nowhere near as horny, okay? But this person was claiming that Paul Preciado... Give me 1 second, let me open up the tweet. It was actually on Blue Sky, but they're all the fucking same thing. Alright. So this person shows me their tweet, where their message, where they're criticizing Paul Preciado, and Paul says, "I speak to you today from this elective, refashioned cage of the trans man, of the non-binary body. Some will say that this too is a political cage. Whatever the case, this cage is better than that of men and women, in that it acknowledges its status as a cage," right? And I'm just gonna say it, I don't really see what's wrong with this statement at all. In fact, I mean, I can understand why it might piss somebody off who's, like, only familiar with gender politics through Twitter and Tumblr and fucking social media. But that's your problem. You need to actually go outside and talk to other people. Like, stop being a fucking hermit. We're literally living in the fucking political end times of the United States. The most you can do is grow the fuck up and talk to other trans people. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. And this person calls this statement not only woke turfism, which I'll go into a minute about why that's so fucking offensive. Pro tip, don't fucking call FTMs TERFs, okay? Just don't fucking do it. I don't care how much you're pissed off at their opinion, right? The fact that they are FTM indicates they're not fucking TERFs. Don't fucking call them that. I understand that you're triggered and you're pissed off that somebody with a vagina is telling you to shut the fuck up, but maybe stop being such a misogynistic piece of shit. And if you think that you're immune to misogyny because you're a woman now, well, congratulations on demonstrating that you've never talked to fucking women before you transitioned, because women call themselves out on their misogyny and their internalized misogyny all the fucking time, especially in feminist groups. Alright, so just stop fucking telling on yourself that you had no interactions with women before you decided, like, serious interactions with women, before you decided to go do this. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I understand that's an assumption, and I may be wrong about that, right? But a lot of times I'm not. A lot of times I'm actually not wrong about that, and there's a reason why that assumption exists. And, you know, if you don't want to be treated like an assumption, maybe don't fucking act like that, okay? And it gets even worse. This person literally calls this innocuous statement literally saying that the structure of non-binary is just as restrictive as the structure of being trans, right? Or maybe, the structure of being non-binary is restrictive like the gender binary. It's just a different kind of restriction that has more freedom or expression or whatever, right? Like, this person calls it gender Zionism. Like, what the flying fuck is wrong with you? There's, like, just so many things wrong with that, right? Now, you might think that this person is, like, a crazy person that is just totally out of their base. No, this kind of behavior is extremely fucking common online, and you need to cut this fucking shit out, right? So, like, let me put it this way. When I first got into Guattari, right, this was back in 2020, I read his screenplay, I was blown away, I fell in love with him, and that was also around the same time that I was going crazy, really, really crazy, not just like, oh, I'm a little delusional. But during that time, I interacted with Nix Land. Now, if you think that Nix Land is a good writer, you're an idiot. Nix Land, right? So, for example, Nix Land is most notorious for writing something called the Black Paper, which is not the original gender accelerationist paper, as I found out later, which maybe one day I'll analyze in more detail. I generally think that gender accelerationism is just really transphobic in general and is only really accepted by isolated, lonely reactionaries who don't really know how to process their own feelings about gender. But her particular paper, the Black Paper, is really bad. Really bad. Like, let me put it this way. She spends 3 fucking pages going on about how one of the most misogynistic pig-ass men in tech represents some kind of femininity while not even mentioning any trans women in tech and only giving Grace Hopper a fleeting mention. The woman who literally invented the compiler, she only gives a fleeting mention. You know, if you want to, I'm just going to say it right now, if you want to read about this kind of feminism in the context of computers, just read Sadie Plant. It's much better. It's, you know, Nix is trying to LARP as Sadie Plant. Okay, Sadie actually had some pretty interesting things to say. I've only touched a little bit of ones and zeros, but what I did read was very interesting. It was what I was reading was a historical analysis of, you know, women and their labor and their roles relative to computing, and how, you know, women are constantly erased in the relationships between gender constructs and computer binaries and interesting things like that. If you actually are interested in that subject, just read Sadie Plant. Don't waste your time with this LARPing cunt, okay? And yes, I said cunt. I'm British. I'm allowed to say that. I don't sound British, but if you talk to me on the internet long enough, you'll know I'm British. I might cut that. Somebody might get fucking mad about me saying cunt. Fucking hell. I don't fucking care. Ooh. Anyways, Nix is an asshole and a misogynistic piece of shit, right? Now, you might be like, well, how can she be misogynistic? She's a woman. I mean, this is a woman who literally advocates for people who are born with uteruses to be breeders. What the fuck is wrong with you? Not even the most egregiously misogynistic cis men have the balls to say that to our faces. Like, they'll go and try to manufacture a society that, you know, tries to reproduce this, and they have done so successfully, which is why we have the patriarchy in the first place, right? You know, when people say rape culture, they don't just mean that we have a culture that encourages rape, they mean that we have a culture that grooms people assigned female at birth, that you are going to breed, you are going to have children, you are going to be a mother. That's why cis feminism, especially historically, has criticized this notion, criticized where women belong, and allow women to explore, you know, new avenues of existence, new things to explore. And how do these reactionary trans femme people react to that? Well, they just tell us to go fuck ourselves. Now, the problem is that these kinds of reactionary views are prolific in Deleuze and Guattari circles because, well, let's get real, accelerationists don't really give a fucking flying shit about Guattari other than what they can use to extract surplus value out of him. They literally, I mean, I know that Justin Murphy is a grift hack, but, like, he literally made a book about why Guattari is a literal R word and needed Deleuze to wrangle him in, which is not only extremely offensive, but also just historically and philosophically inaccurate. While Deleuze did contribute significant levels of the work in Anti-Oedipus and 1,000 Plateaus, they absolutely worked and influenced each other. And in fact, Deleuze focused on Guattari because of his unique potential and incredible wit and intelligence. Yes, he was always kind of neurodivergent, if you want to say it that way, but he was incredibly brilliant. And, you know, it's pretty obvious that accelerationists don't really value that brilliance because, one, they don't have the patience to read his work because they are too busy going fucking fast, and two, they don't understand why his particular, like, approach to philosophy is counter to what accelerationists have produced. So at the end of the day, they don't care. These people don't care about what my guy had to actually say. They don't care about what transmasculine people have to say, and it's just like, it's a real problem within just the Deleuze community online. Like, it's really hard being a trans man. You ask yourself why I haven't made many videos about being trans. It's because if, like, people are fucking assholes. Like, for example, I think do you want to know what my most controversial transgender opinion is? Are you ready for this, right? Okay, so my most controversial transgender opinion is that transgender women become transgender and, like, recognize that they want to become women through misogynistic structures in society that they are encouraged to engage with, right? So another way to think of this, right, is that trans women, right, because they are assigned male at birth, right, they are taught misogynistic, alienated approaches to how women work, right? And as a result, these images that are constructed through the gaze of looking at women, right, just a neutral gaze, really, still constructs misogynistic images in their mind. And so transitioning and becoming a woman is part of that transition, is about deconstructing those images and recognizing how those images are produced by a misogynistic society, and really embracing the machine, the deep abstract machines that produce womanhood, as opposed to an image or a simulation of womanhood, right? So essentially, trans women are becoming women in the sense that they are becoming more and more like real women. They are embracing they're discovering, like, more directly through their desire to become women, what it really means to be women, basically. And this is a highly controversial opinion. I don't understand why. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't understand why it's wrong to point out that images in society, even, like, within our personal relationships, are constructed around misogyny, right? Like, and this is crazy to me because, you know, I'm not gonna, first off, whenever I present this opinion, I get comments like just calling me a transphobe, calling me a TERF. Again, trans men cannot be TERFs by definition. And also, what was it? I think my favorite one that I've ever been told was, after saying that, they said, "So are you saying that trans men can't be misogynistic?" Bitch, where the fuck did you get that fucking shit from? Just tell us to our face next time that you think we're shit, okay? Like, you'll tolerate us, you'll put up with us, but the moment that we actually present how we experience things, you know, as people who had to deal with misogyny and had to deal with being a woman for 22 years, you know, all of a sudden that just disappears because we take testosterone. That just disappears because we just don't understand any of that shit. Like, bitch, shut the fuck up. I am dead fucking serious. I can't believe how many times I've actually received that response from just pointing out that, like, yeah, trans women are influenced by misogynistic images in society. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, seriously. And let's not even start talking about the problems with discussing anatomy within transgender circles. So, like, a lot of, and I think this is starting to change, thank fuck, but during the 2010s, you could not talk about your genitalia, basically. You couldn't talk about the relations between your reproductive body, because a lot of trans women were offended by the very concept of even bringing up the fact that she has a penis or was born with a penis, right? Which I personally, like, I'm just going to say it right now, I think that's a form of internalized misogyny, to be quite frank. I mean, I think women can have penises. I mean, there's intersex women who have, you know, who are not even transgender, who may be born with a small penis or whatever, that has been, you know, mutilated by a doctor. So there's nothing wrong with being a woman with a penis. That's not really the issue. It's just that was the reality of the situation, and that's how you got here, right? But this becomes a lot more complicated when you consider what trans men go through. See, having a penis is largely inconsequential. Like, yes, people with penises can still be raped, but you know what they don't ever have to deal with? Bearing the child. It is insane that in an era where, you know, abortion rights are talked about more than ever because of the repealing of Roe v. Wade, that I have to explain to people that because I have a uterus, I can get fucking pregnant. And that means that if I get fucking raped, then I can be forced to bear the child. And I'm not trying to trivialize the rape of, you know, transgender women, obviously. However, we need to be able to talk about bodily autonomy and anatomy. Because if you don't, you're just excluding trans men who have anatomy that constructs political relationships. That's why feminism exists. That's why meninism is a joke and feminism is a real thing, because our, you know, AFAB bodies are oppressed systematically from birth. And that doesn't mean that, you know, trans feminine experience is not legitimate or not experienced or not real. What it really means is that you're not discussing the people with uteruses. And you want to understand why TERFs are, like, actually, like, what their actual motivation is? They are sick and fucking tired of people with penises talking over people with uteruses, right? And I'm not defending TERF behavior. I think that they're a reactionary bullshit cult that exists. They don't even realize they're stabbing themselves in the back. But the reason why they exist is a legitimate reason. And, you know, trans women who are completely unwilling to sympathize with the political reality of being born with a uterus, who only see it as an accessory to gain access to some mode of femininity, need to, again, shut the fuck up. You're an asshole. Fuck you. You're a misogynist. I don't care how much of a woman you say you are. You fucking hate women when you talk like that. Like, it's unreal, the shit that I've had to deal with. And even outside of the Deleuze circle, which is vulnerable to reactionaries like this, because, you know, we have the accelerationists to deal with, which, again, fuck you if you're an accelerationist. I don't give a shit. I don't care how fun Nick Land is to read. You're a fucking idiot who's not real about the real world. Like, seriously, what I want to tell all the accelerationists is just read the segment in Schizoanalytic Cartographies where Guattari is nailing down the postmodernists, because that same critique he makes against the postmodernists applies to you too. He basically says that you're a bunch of, like, fucking losers who are going around and just doing nothing other than farting around and not being critical about anything and just submitting to capital because, well, I just can't see a way out. You're a loser. You're a doomer. You can't be creative. I'm just going to be real with you. I'm going to be productive and believe in a better future until the fucking day I die. Because hope is the only thing that's keeping me alive. I don't know what's keeping you alive, but for me, the hope that I'll be able to create my artwork one day without having to deal with all this horse shit is the reason why I keep, you know, pushing myself. But even outside of these circles, like, trans hatred against trans men is prolific, right? You know, you have all these crazy people on Twitter coming up with every which excuse to essentially deplatform trans people, or trans men, right? To just say, oh, we're just a bunch of misogynistics inherently. I think, I've heard takes over the years, like, trans men are inherently misogynistic because they decide to be men. Testosterone is an inherently misogynistic, you know, drug. You know, testosterone makes people evil or violent, which is really funny. Like, that's the same shit that sissies make. You want to sound like a sissy? Keep saying that shit. You know, another one is, you know, that when you become a trans woman, you gain access to all of this like kind of like minority oppression that you didn't have before, while trans men erase it. And I'm just going to make something very clear to anybody who's watching this video. Just because, if you're a trans woman, just because you don't want to necessarily think about the time that before you transitioned as being a boy, doesn't necessarily mean that FTMs feel the same way, right? I didn't necessarily like being a woman for the first 22 years of my life, but I was a woman, okay? I want to make that very clear. I was sexually harassed, I was catcalled, I was sexually assaulted on multiple occasions because I was a woman, and cis men, saw my body as something to be exploited. When you say that I'm not a woman, or I've never been a woman, and I don't understand what it's like to be a woman, you are erasing that. You are a misogynist. You need to shut the fuck up and stop doing that shit. Now, with this out of the way, I'm sure that any of the scumbags who have managed to, follow my channel are going to unsubscribe when they find out that going around and being a misogynistic piece of shit to trans men is not okay and not going to be tolerated by a trans man. I'm sure they'll go and unsubscribe, and quite frankly, good. Fuck you. I don't want you around. I don't care about how fucking much of a special snowflake you are. If you're not willing to treat our issues as real and material, fuck off. You're not real and material to me. I'm just going to end this by making people think, if you're going to write something really angry in the comments, before you write anything, I want you to seriously think, how many trans men writers have you actually read in the last year? How many trans men besides me did you interact with, consume their content, listen to in the last year? Because I'm willing to bet that answer is going to be less than 5. For most of you. Always is. I wonder why that is. Is that because the transgender community has a problem where certain narratives are privileged over others because of their political convenience and historical contingencies that leads to the constant marginalization of FTM individuals? Could that possibly be the reason why you don't hear about us very often? Just saying. Just fucking saying.